Hello my friends, and welcome to my third short video on polygon.io, the super duper data platform. So unfortunately my first two videos might have cut off some of the left side by accident due to something with my recording software. But if that is a big problem to you guys, please write in the comments. Otherwise, let's just keep it as is. So I put the other videos and all the polygon.io stuff is in a playlist, so please check out the playlist. The first video talks a little bit about getting set up with the free tier and that sort of thing. So let's get started. In this video, we're going to talk about how to get fundamental data, especially like things like financials, and we're going to talk about how to get like income statement, balance sheet, revenues, profits, that sort of thing. And we're going to compare Tesla and NVDA. Okay, so let's get started. So first, like in the previous videos, we have to pip install the Polygon API client. This is the Python library, and I guess I should have put it here. Okay, and then remember, we go to the dashboard, Polygon.io dashboard, we get our API key, and if you're using Google Colab, you can put your API key in this value, and then you can do from Google Colab import user data, and you can get your API key, or you could just paste your API key as this variable here. And now to connect to the client, you do as in the previous videos, from Polygon import REST client, client equals REST client my API key. Okay, great. So now we're gonna get company financial data. So we're gonna use this client.vx.list stock financials to get the company financials. So this is also a paginated endpoint like I spoke about in the first video. And so if you actually do help vx. Whenever you have paginated endpoints and you have the free tier, you should probably set the limit to the max possible limit you could do, because that means like each API call you get limit rows. So so let me check what the max limit is for a second. Client list stock financials, I think it's called. Client .vx.list stock financials. Oh, I guess I didn't connect to the client. Okay, so like now you can list the stock financials. Okay, and you see okay, so you see you have ticker is the main thing, of course, and there's a bunch of filing date greater than or equal to, things like that. So what we want to look at is we want to look at limit. So limit by default is 10, max is 100. So let's set the limit to 100. So as we did in the previous video, just so we get all the data, we're gonna have to loop over this thing, and every time we get 100 times 5, because it's max 5 API calls. This will make more sense if you watch my other video. Each time you get that, you pause for a minute due to the 5 API calls a minute limit. So let's import time for that, and we're gonna have a list called financials, and we're gonna iterate through it. So we're gonna do for f in client.vx.stock financials. A limit equals, it already knew the max limit is 100, but let me write it like this. Max limit equals 100, and then max limit. The AI autocomplete's pretty cool. Okay, so now let's do the symbol. Let's do, it's called ticker. Ticker equals Tesla. And let's do, let's just do filing date greater than or equal to. Let's do 2019 0101. Okay, let's do that. And let's see what it does. And remember, after 60 seconds, we want to sleep for after limit times 5, we want to sleep for 60 seconds. So we can do that by doing something like if length of financials. Mod max limit times 5 equals 0. And we also don't want to pause on the first one because we also don't want to pause on the first one because okay, sorry, no, this is okay because the first one will be 1 anyway, so this is good. Okay, so whenever we have get to 5,000, we pause. So we do now so if this equals 0, we do time.sleep 60 to pause for a minute. Okay, and otherwise we so we have everything we need. We pause for a minute. Let's just write print sleeping for 60 seconds, and then let's also let's just do that. Okay, and by the way, I don't think you'll need that because I think there's less data, so it's done right away. We probably could have gotten away with just doing this. So anyways, we have now a data set that looks like this, financials. So if we do length financials, we can see it's length 22. We didn't need all this mess, but I think it's good practice because you'll need it in my other videos. We could have just simplified this, to be honest with you guys. We could have just, let me just show you the simple way. We could have just literally done it in one line. We didn't need this time.sleep stuff, but it's good practice because for other paginated endpoints, we're gonna have to pause. So let's keep it as is. So now let's turn it into a data frame for readability. So let's import pandas. Pandas as PD, df equals pd dot data frame financials. And let's just look at it, df.head. So as you see, we have end date, filing date, start date, and we have like a fiscal period. It could be a quarter, a full year, that sort of thing. But look at the main column is financials. So financials is like a thing that has like all this information. So if you look at it, we can look at financials, for example. Has like all the information we want, df.financials.ilog0. Let's see how this looks like. So you see it's like some big dictionary of things, and it has like the balance sheet and information. It has other things. Let's just look at the keys it has. So it has a balance sheet, cash flow statement, comprehensive income statement. So let's actually parse this out to make it more readable. I will say, of course, this notebook will be on my GitHub. So financials keys will be this. So this might not work for every ticker, by the way. There's some tickers that might have a slight different format, but it happened to work for this date range for Tesla and NVIDIA, the two examples I want to show. So these are financial keys, and you know what? Let's make it a list instead of like dictionary keys. So now what we're gonna do is let's just parse out these things. So we can use the pandas apply method for that. So we can do for key and financial keys, df key equals df.financials.apply. And what this is doing is it goes to the financial column, and it's basically since that's a dict. So for each element, it's gonna take the value of the dict at that key, and the keys, as we showed earlier, were these things. So it basically will take the balance sheet part. It'll take the cash flow part, comprehensive income and income statement, and it'll save it as a new column in the data frame. So let's run that. So now if you guys want to see, we have the columns at the end. We're gonna have what we did is now we have cash flow statement, comprehensive income statement, and balance sheet. Those are the columns we added. Okay, so now this is again in a weird format. So now let's actually look at how the income statement looks like, because it's also a dictionary. So we can do df that, and yeah, it's not. Sometimes you might have columns with rows with slightly different dictionaries, so you need to be careful. But I think for now this is okay. So what did I call it? I didn't call it DF Financial. I called it just DF. Sorry, DF dot income statement. Okay, so now you see it has basic earnings per share, gross profit, operating expenses, revenues. We want to actually parse that type of stuff out. We want like basically a column that has basic earnings per share, a column that has cost of revenue, a column that has gross profit, a column that has operating expenses, and a column that has revenue. And by the way, we can do a similar thing for the other things like the cash flow statement and all the other things. But for now, we're just gonna do the income statement because I want to plot the revenue and profit and earnings per share. So let's do that. So and I'm gonna also want to, you know what? Let's just see what keys. Sorry, let me take a step back. Let's see what keys each of these columns has. So basically, I want to see what keys the cash flow statement has, the balance sheet, comprehensive income, and the income statement have. So let's try that. Let's do for key in financials keys I called it, I guess. And let's actually display it nicely. So we'll do display markdown. And then let's do, it remembers my my old code. So let's display, so we have to actually import this. Does it let you import with the AI? So let's import it. I know the import statement. It should let you click and import with all this AI stuff. So now, we're gonna display the key, which is like one of the four mentioned, and the values that it has. So we can do that by doing, we can do that by looking at its keys. So we can do like something like this. We'll print here. So to get its keys, we can look at df key, and we can do iloc 0 to get just one element, and then dot keys. And I'm joining this because I want to print one after the other. So you get what did I mess up on? Oh, keys. Okay. What did I mess up on? Okay, so now you see like what if we were to parse it, we can make like a column for each of these guys. So the balance sheet, look at what the balance sheet has, like equity, assets, liabilities, all that stuff. Cash flow statement has this, comprehensive income has this, and income statement. We're gonna focus on income statement. Has basic earnings per share, cost of revenue, gross profit, operating expenses, and revenues. Okay, so let's parse that out. So let's parse out the income statement. And if you look above, you see that like for basic earnings per share and cost of revenue and things like that, the value is this number 0.375. So the value key is what we're interested in. So let's do that. So we can do something like for key in df income statement dot iloc 0. That just means like for one of the values of the income statement, let's look at its keys. Let's go through the keys, and let's set for the key, we go into the income statement and we parse and we get out the value for that key as I explained above. And the AI autocomplete did pretty well here. So now if I do df, so I guess there's a mistake. Apply x. So what's missing? What's the issue here? It's called value. It's called value. So what's wrong? Oh, sorry. There's also there's a key, because remember each of these you have to say like which one of these. So there's a key and then a value. So now if you do df, you get the data frame. And as you see at the end, I get the values for earnings per share, cost of revenue, gross profit, operating expenses, and revenues. So now this is like the fun part. We can plot earnings per share, revenue, and gross profit over time. So let's do that. So let me just, if you notice that we have here annual and full year and quarterly financials, let's only do the quarterly financials. So so that we can do that by saying like the pandas column string method dot string dot contains q. So let's do something like quarterly financials equals df dot fiscal period dot str dot contains q. That should be good enough. And let's just see that it worked. Quarterly financials. It should have only the Q's. Fiscal period should only have the Q's. Okay, great. So now what we're gonna do is okay. So now what we have is we have a function where we have all the fiscal period, fiscal year, and then the values we want to plot, like revenue, gross profit, and basic earnings per share, as like a flat file. But we actually want like a tall file. We want like basically a column that says like a column that'll be the date, and then a column that'll be the metric, and a column that'll be the value of the metric. Because that way we can use Plotly Express. So like, let me write here, convert to tall format for Plotly Express using Pandas Melt. And for those of you guys who are not familiar with Pandas Melt, it's a good technique. So let me show you guys. So what you do is you do quarterly financials dot melt, and your ID variables, we'll just use end date, because you can choose whatever columns you want. But we're just gonna end up we're just gonna plot like end date versus everything. So just for the sake of this example, but end date would be like an ID variable. You know what? Let me just do start date and end date just to show you guys. Start date, end date. So those are the ID variables, and then you have value variables. So the value variables, it remembers my practice notebook. Gross profit, revenue, and basic earnings per share. So it's basically going to stack those columns on top of each other into one column, and then it's going to have another column called measurement type, but let's actually call it financial metric, and then the name of the value, let's call it dollars, because these happen to be in dollars. Okay, so now look at the format. This is what I meant. So you have the start date, end date, because those are like ID columns, and then you have the financial metric, and that basically shoves all these columns together, and just says which of these columns it is, and those columns together are in the last column, which is called dollars because I set the value name parameter dollars, and the value vars are of course what you combine together. So you combine gross profit, revenues, basic earnings per share. Okay, so let's actually call this quarterly financials, and I probably should do a pandas video, but not enough people have asked for it, because like pandas is pretty cool. So now let's plot this with Plotly Express. Plotly .express px. Of course, this is not a Plotly video, so I'm going to rush through this too, and look at what the autocomplete did. So it made quarterly financials tall. Let's plot start date versus dollars and color by financial metric. So this makes no sense because they're on different scales. So what we actually want to do is we want to actually do some sort of facet call and facet wrap. So look at what we can do. First of all, let me show you a few things. You can do facet row, and then facet row can be like financial metric, and then you're gonna actually get basically 3 columns like this. I'm just showing you guys kind of fast, but like basically it's kind of, they're all on the same scale still. So then you can do fig dot and if you guys want a Plotly video, please, enough comments and I will do one. You can do update y-axis. Sorry guys. And then you can do matches equals none. What this does now is it makes the axes independent. So as you see, this goes from -4 to 2. They're all independent. But you know, this is kind of ugly that it's on the side. There's one way to fix that, and I'll show you in a second. But just real quick, the facet row kind of means like you'll have a row for each of these different metrics. So for gross profit, revenue, and basic earnings per share. And if you do facet column, you'll have like 3 columns. Let me just show you guys how it looks like just for a second. So facet column would have like 3 columns. But we want, but one benefit that facet column has is it has the metric on top, the name, which is very useful. So there's actually what's called a facet call wrap. So you can do facet call wrap, and then you can set this to 1. And what this will do is it'll still do by column, but it'll do 1 at a time. So that's exactly the same as facet row, except it keeps the metric name on top. So let's show you how that looks. So see, that's now a lot more readable, even though we probably want to make things a little bit taller. So we can do that by doing, let's do height equals like 1,000 maybe. So yeah, this is a little bit more readable. Maybe it's too big even now. So let's do height equals 800. But as you see, Tesla like went from not profitable here, profitable but losing losing earnings per share. Revenues mostly went up until a little bit of a downturn. Gross profit mostly went up and then a little bit of downturn. So this is Tesla. Okay, so yeah, if enough comments, I'll make a Plotly tutorial. So now I want to add NVIDIA for comparison. So I'm just going to wrap all the things we did above, like to basically get financials for the ticker, and then create a data frame, get the keys, loop through them, and extract eventually the revenue, gross profit, and earnings per share. So let's do that. I have that function ready, so I'll just paste this. So I call it get quarterly financials. And then also it makes it returns the tall format. Okay, so let me call this function quarterly financials. It's not Tesla, it's NVIDIA actually. I'll call it quarterly financials. NVIDIA equals get quarterly financials NVIDIA. Okay, so I got the quarterly financials for NVIDIA. So let's just print how that looks like. So it's the tall format previously, but I only have end date here. And what did I plot here? Previously, did I plot start date or end date? Plotted start date. So you know what? Let's actually make it the same. Let's make it start date, date, and end date. Okay. So now quarterly financials NVIDIA gives you everything except we added the start and end date for the quarter. So the quarter starts here, ends here. Okay. So now I want to combine them and compare with Tesla. So let me maybe call it quarterly financials NVIDIA Tesla. And wow, look at this auto complete. Did it work? PD.concat, those two things. So now I have, but it's missing one thing. It's missing the name. Financials NVIDIA Tesla. So Google's Collab's new like auto AI complete is really cool, but it's not perfect. So let's add, you can use a sign. Let's do symbol equals NVIDIA dot assign symbol equals Tesla. So now we can look at this, and it's what we want. We have the symbol. So now what we can do is we can do the exact same plot as above, but now we're gonna like add a color thing so that we can get Tesla's thing versus NVIDIA's thing. So let's do this. So we do it here. So we can do equals symbol. So now it's the color by symbol. And also this thing is now called Tesla NVIDIA, I think, or NVIDIA Tesla. NVIDIA Tesla. So now it looks like this. And what did I mess up on? Color. Is it color or group or? I thought it was color, right? Oh, I didn't spell symbol right. Okay. Anyways, if you guys want Plotly videos, let me know. I spend a lot of time on Plotly. So as you see, unfortunately for Tesla, is the revenue, the gross profit for Tesla hasn't skyrocketed up. And for NVIDIA it has, hence the meteoric stock price. Revenues though, like NVIDIA is not that much more. They just have a huge gross profit. Earnings per share, look at NVIDIA is going way up. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please share, like. If you're new, please subscribe. I appreciate it a lot. I kind of rushed through this one because this is going to be a daily video. Anyways, thank you guys so much.